Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.52. We're of course playing as Britain, and we're going to continue here. Well, what's going on? Uh-oh, did I sort of forget about this going up here? I guess I did. How bad are we doing? Are they gonna take us? And they're gonna exhaust themselves on us, it looks like. And we'll counterattack maybe. We are getting ready to just go back to Shetland. Take that back. Okay, they can't go there. Well, they can't go there, and they can't go there, but they can go there. Alright, well, advance we shall then. Keep the pressure on. Delta, yeah. We're losing convoys there. Okay, we won. So that means we're probably exhausted, so let's attack them with the Highlanders. Light infantry there. Got some anti-tank guns. That should do well. Can we get to... No, we can't. And yes, we can. So let's send that division over there. Come on, cut them off. So, okay, wing aerodynamics have improved. So we've been doing some wind tunnel tests or something like that. Okay. We'll look at industry here for a second, okay. Rare materials. So that we're doing very well with. So let's see if there's a higher priority research. Option here that we should take. Camouflage designs. Okay, we'll improve that. Maybe we'll paint all our desert equipment pink. You guys know the story of that and how that happened? Particularly, I think it was the SAS much more so than the long-range desert group. The SAS sort of kind of to some degree came out of, because the Special Air Service came out of the Air Force to some degree, I believe. Formed by David Sterling, but he wasn't Air Force if I remember correctly. Well, one of the air bases in North Africa, I know we're sort of pausing the game for another story by Gamer here, you know, one of the, here or wherever, one of the air bases that they were flying out of had a crashed, I believe, airplane. It was down at one end of the runway. They were sort of using that as sort of a marker to, you know, take off and land. And I don't know, in a number of days, whether that's weeks or months or whatever, it faded away and they couldn't hardly see it anymore. So they went down and looked at, you know, went to sort of go look for it because it was like at the far end of the runway, and they realized that the desert sand had scrubbed away the paint on the aircraft, the outer layer of it at least by that point, and left just the primer color, which was the pink color, just the primer. And that, because of the bright sunlight and the heat reflections that are in the desert, it doesn't work if you go to sort of like the California desert, which is nothing like the western desert out here, but doesn't really work so well, I don't think. But it was just that pink color was just sort of, at any long range, just sort of melded into the background better than the tan of the aircraft or whatever they were originally looking at in some of their other vehicles. So they started to paint the vehicles pink. That's how they came up with that, as well as possibly some other things. Okay, we give them money for a bunch of energy. Okay, sounds like a plan, America. Buying a bunch of your steel, let's get some of your coal. And yeah, anything that's being shipped to the UK as coal is not hydroelectrical power. Okay, now that we won that, let's move this unit, which hasn't been fighting, so maybe it'll be able to attack the quicker. Don't know that we want to go too far south, because we don't necessarily want to tangle with large German forces, but I'm figuring. Okay, so we won there too. Not doing so well, so we'll add them to the mix. That's doing better. And then let's see if we have some good units that we want to, or maybe just units in good shape. Not in bad shape. They're in fine shape, so let's see. We'll go for the right. Yeah, that's the right one, I think. Yeah, let's turn on board. I think they're just getting on. Let's put a headquarters on board with Mars Montgomery. There it is. And on board. Maybe. Run out of room. Well, let's go up here and see if this will be a good enough invasion force. Okay. Okay. The Anglo-Soviet invasion of Iran. If you've heard me talking about Germany and Iran in the German series, you'll know a little bit about that already, that Germany was working to gain influence in Iran. Maybe not very hard, but they were. Iran had been called Persia for a long time, but they changed their name to Iran at this period in the, I think, early 30s, basically meaning land of the Aryans, because they wanted to be thought of as Aryans like the Nazis. So they wanted to go down that route. And so, but they had no real arms industry, very little industry at all anyways, and it was a fairly backwards country. Not to say the capital wasn't a modern city, but the country as a whole was fairly backwards. So they never really, had the power to, like you can in Black Ice, build army units and attack places. Ooh, wow. And you can, take over the world as Bhutan or something like that with Black Ice. And how the hell do they have any weapons? They, look at those. Bhutan never had any of those kind of freaking units. But, so in reality, it wasn't much. I mean, they had a lot of weaponry that they had bought by selling oil. So, they had some of that. But they didn't have the sustainability of fighting a war of aggression on any of its neighbors at this time in this modern war. There's a big difference between having stockpiles of bullets and artillery shells and all of that, and having a bunch of artillery pieces to sort of equip your army and go say, hey, if you attack us, you're going to have a real sort of fight, and we might be able to pick up an ally somewhere, that kind of thing. And so that's one thing. Another thing is we're going to, be aggressive. Now, at this time period, there was also the Iraq uprising, which I think is sort of going on here. I've got a bunch of stuff here. We just independence. Okay, they grant military access, so it's not. They're not at war with us right now, but we may be going back in to deal with them here. And so that sort of stirred up trouble. But the big thing, and then we'll read this here, was unlike this game, the Germans had these bases, including the air bases up here, that were too far away from anything that the British could to fly off to support from land. And so the convoys that were coming up here, especially in summer when you had 24 hours of daylight, you could spot them a long ways away, and you could attack them with your air power. You could send out a capital ship or two, and of course you could escort them with a capital ship or two, but then those capital ships, of course, could be attacked from the air. So then do you put a carrier with them, and how much are you supporting the convoys up there when you're still fighting, especially in September 41. It's the sort of second happy time coming up, actually not quite yet. And so so you have, once that happens, you have the attacks there, but we're still having attacks out here, so you need to escort the convoys in through there. So you needed to find another way to do Lend-Lease. And obviously you can't go through the Mediterranean with the Italians, or Black Sea. Those are just foregone conclusions. You could send to the Far East. Now Japan was at war shortly here with the US, obviously, but they did not attack Soviet ships. But still, Soviet ships landing here, even at this time, my understanding is the railroad was not complete. Lake Baikal here. If I understand correctly, the railroad came into part of this, and then they loaded all the stuff onto ships, and then they got to another place and they unloaded them from ships and put them on the track. So there was not even, I may be wrong about it, but I know for a while it was that. So there was not even a continuous rail source. So moving all those supplies via rail was just going to be way too long. And how many Soviet ships were there? Because the convoys coming to here were British and the International Allies ships. And they were at war with Japan very shortly here. And well, so is the U.S. So this is just an impractical long distance that you can't do. The U.S. did fly a fair amount of aircraft, and this is a lot closer up here than this long stretch out would make it seem. Did fly a fair amount of aircraft that then were flown in stages across the Soviet Union by Soviet pilots. So there was that, and to some degree the Soviet pilots came and picked them up and flew them over to here. I also think American pilots flew them, were flown back, but they were flying with Soviet markings, often on arms. The Japanese would not attack them. So they were doing that. So there was a fair amount of, a lot of the Aero Cobras went that way, I believe. So they looked for another connection to be able to send in supplies efficiently and effectively, and that was through Iran. Afghanistan, there wasn't a good railway system or anything to move it across, and otherwise you'd have to go into Turkey, so that's about your only real choice. Okay, following Germany's invasion of the USSR in June 1941, the United Kingdom and the Soviet Union became allies. Although still a neutral nation, Reza Shah Pahlavi had thought Persia closer, or had brought, I don't read this very well, do I? Persia closer to Germany. This concerned the British, who feared that the Abandam, I guess, oil refinery owned by the Anglo-Persian Oil Company might fall into German hands. The refinery produced 8 million tons of oil in 1940 and was thus a crucial part of the Allied war effort. For the Soviets, Persia was a country of extreme strategic importance. The German army, Wehrmacht Heer, was steadily advancing through the Soviet Union, and the Persian corridor was one of the few ways the Allies could get desperately needed Lend-Lease supplies to the Soviets from the United States. I think it happened a little later than this, but I'm not sure. Does it say up here? Maybe in some of the headlines, but I can't read that right now. It's just too small. So I think it happened a little later, but I'm not sure on that date. I'm not good on dates. I'm more good, that's nice English. I'm better on cause and effects in history than trying to remember exact dates. So now when I code this, I code it so that the Soviet Union has to be warned. I think they've improved this with black ice. It has to be these sort of conditions. Britain and the Soviet Union and at war, and Iran not in a faction. So I try to get them in a faction. Okay, the invasion was rapid and conducted with ease. From the south, the British Iraq Command, also known as Iraq Force, rearmed 6 days later to Persia, or renamed, sorry, again, not reading well, to Persia and Iraq Command, Persia Force, or PAL Force, Pali Force, under command of Lieutenant General Edward Quinan. Advanced Pali Force, was made up of the 8th and 10th Indian Divisions, the 2nd Indian Armored Brigade, the 4th British Cavalry Brigade, later renamed the 9th Armored Brigade, and the 21st Indian Brigade. The Soviets came from the north with the 44th, 47th, and 53rd Armies of the Trans-Caucasian Front under General Kuslov. Now remember, those three Soviet armies are in effect at best three Soviet corps, right, in strength. A Soviet division is roughly a brigade in strength. A Soviet corps is roughly and now it's organized as a division and it's organized as a corps. But the strength-wise, a corps is roughly the strength of a division, and so on. And again, that's rough. It's not, maybe some guards divisions were larger, but generally speaking, so when you see, a Soviet or German corps take out a Soviet army, it's sort of a German corps taking out a Soviet corps. Still can be a great victory, not downplaying Germany's various victories. But whenever you look at the size of the front and Germany, well, even if they're losing after inflicting a lot of casualties later in the war, it's still with the idea that the numbers weren't quite as imbalanced as they might seem. Without any military allies able to come to its assistance, it says Iraqi, but I'm presuming they mean Iranian resistance was rapidly overwhelmed and neutralized by the Soviet and British tanks and infantry. Basically, they didn't fight the Iranians. They just sort of gave up with the idea, and it was sort of announced to the government that this wasn't really the situation of Britain taking over. So we got a bunch of garrison units. Okay, taking over Iran is just a well, 80% chance. Time, money. We'll go with group time reduction. See if that hopefully comes out. And forming the Royal Air. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, we'll take another HQ. Okay, well. Yeah, at least we went too far away, so we'll at least move it up here. That might be close enough. These guys are way off in the desert. And then there's Tehran. There it is. Some garrison troops. Let's look at secure oil fields in the water. Some of these guys to move into Iraq as well. No. I'll show some here. Okay, now we will also need to let's create a resource convoy. We will go from Bandar Abbas to Liverpool. Hopefully that will go a long way. Create a supply convoy. We'll go from Liverpool to Bandar Abbas. I don't know if that's the best port, but that's this port here. Now, yeah, good. Oh, actually good. Everything's going around the med. That's great. You can still sink us right here, but that's it. Uh-oh. What? I didn't do a thing to it. There it is. Don't know what that... No, that isn't it. Here. Still here. I didn't rename it. Oh, I guess it's maybe a event or something? I don't know. That seems odd. I don't know. Looks like it's still here. I guess we're not getting the effects from it. I don't know. Fall off the coast of Orkney. Okay, good. Well, we should be dominating anything out here by air power considerably. We got a lot of extra units already there. I want to check. I sent some ships down to Cape Town. No, and they're there. Some of them. Okay. This what had been the Mediterranean fleet, so we'll send this here. Liverpool. We may use it to escort back. I'll also send the transports, but they're presumably moving slower that way. Thought I sent them over here. No, I guess I haven't. Damn. I thought I did. Maybe just send them down to there. Okay, light mud forecast. I don't want to risk them going through the Mediterranean. Not a good enough reason, in my opinion. Okay, just a second. What that? We gotta see what we need to build here. Okay. Couple armor divisions coming. We've taken some losses with our carriers, and they're a long-term build, so I'm going to get them building, and they're expensive. Right now, I'm not confronting too much, so enemy air, I think it'll be okay with the Shetland invasion. Okay, esprit de corps of the naval forces. Your background as a sailor pays dividends. Through your this is the U events. Through your implementation of a number of different programs for your naval forces, your esprit de corps has skyrocketed. Okay, until the end of the game, an origin event removes it. Organization, naval basing and efficiency are both up by 2.5%. Nice, good. Useful. I still have mixed emotions. I think it's a cute idea. I don't know how historical those U effects are. I wanted to try them out and see how they were before I pass too much judgment. Oh, okay. Let's see. What do you want to do? African reinforcements, yes. This is, I presume, from taking Addis Ababa. So I'm going with that because they don't look like they're in the desert and they're holding an Italian flag. They're soldiers. The 1st South African Infantry Division took part in several actions in East Africa in 1940, North Africa in 41, 42, including the Battle of El Alamein before being withdrawn to South Africa. The 2nd South African Infantry Division also took part in a number of actions in North Africa during 1942, but on June 1942, 2 complete infantry brigades of the division, as well as most of the supporting units, were captured at the fall of Tobruk. Yes, I do know a little bit about that. So, where are they? I'm guessing there's 2 divisions here. Okay. Good. Okay, so we've got 2 new motorized, somewhat, pretty good motorized divisions. Great. Thank you, South Africa. The Empire comes through. I'm not going to let another failure like we did last time. If I do another invasion, I'm still not giving up on the idea. I'm going to make sure I have a lot more forces in theater to do that. Currently I have a lot stacked here. And of course we're destroying some of the last remnants down there. No, I don't want to buy fuel. Global unit combined arms. That's good. Let's improve artillery combined arms. Okay, now. That division's there. The division isn't so well. Okay, for the moment. As well as that one's not there. That one's not there, but that one's getting nicer and has label there as a battle commander. That would have been a good division to bring up here. Well, as that one isn't there. Okay, well, now, okay. Take all these and put these on board ship. Now let's see how they do. Invasion, yes. We're invading the Shetland Islands, or we're getting ready to. I think we have enough air power supporting our new fleet there. Okay, single engine aircraft. Okay, good. That I think it's all these, so let's put that coming. Well, I think we're going to take this time as the invasion force moves in to end this episode. We'll see how this goes next episode. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. Please post comments. Love hearing from you. See you next time.